The beer was cold, but it did nothing to numb the bitterness on Valeri's tongue. He sat in a nearly empty bar called Mikhailic's Place, the kind of old dim corner where stories went to die. The news had spread quickly. The metal structures plant was shutting down entire departments. Layoffs, severance packages, a quiet goodbye to the past. At 43, Valeriy had nothing to show for himself except two grown kids who barely called, a marriage colder than Siberian winters, and a job he never loved. He had dropped out of college in his third year when his girlfriend, now wife, Svetlana, got pregnant. He took a job at the plant to support the family. He kept telling himself he'd go back to school someday. But then came their second child, then the mortgage, then the debts. Someday never came. Now the factory was closing, and the only thing left was a severance check and uncertainty. His phone buzzed. A message from Svetlana. "Where are you? Dinner's getting cold." "Adder," he scoffed. Dinner. Cold. Their relationship had been frozen for years. They hadn't shared a bed in 3. Svetlana had changed after her promotion to the regional government. She dressed better, walked taller, talked differently, and reminded him daily that she'd outgrown him. He typed back, "On my way," finished his beer, and left. Home was a mausoleum. Svetlana sat at the table in a perfectly pressed blouse, her makeup flawless even in the dim kitchen light. "You were at the bar again?" she asked without looking up. "Rough day," he muttered. "We all have rough days. Not everyone drowns them in alcohol." He clenched his jaw. The conversations were always like this, barbed, condescending. He couldn't remember the last time she looked at him with warmth. "Maybe we should talk," he said cautiously. "About what?" She looked up, eyes sharp. "About how you've wasted your life? How you're still a mechanic at 43 while I'm carrying this family?" Something broke inside him. He stood untouched, dinner still on the plate. "Good night," he said, and walked to the guest room. His room now. That night, lying alone, he made a decision. He wouldn't tell her about the layoff yet. He'd take the money, find new work, maybe in construction. His hands were still good. Something would come up. But fate had other plans. A week later, with severance pay in his pocket and paperwork signed, Valeriy was almost free. Then Svetlana did something unexpected. "We have a corporate retreat this Saturday," she said casually while typing on her laptop. "You're coming with me." Valeriy blinked. She hadn't invited him to a single work event in years. He was pretty sure half her colleagues didn't even know she had a husband. "Why?" "Because I'm your wife, and it'll look strange if I show up alone." There was something off in her tone, forced, too composed, but he agreed. Maybe, just maybe, this was her attempt to fix things. The retreat was held at a resort called Green Grove. Pine trees, log cabins, lakeside grilling spots. The kind of place they used to visit back when life still had laughter. Svetlana's colleagues were polite but distant. Their gazes lingered a moment too long. Whispers drifted behind his back. So this is her husband, the mechanic. One man stood out, Oleg Petrovich. Tall, well-dressed, with a silver beard, and a watch that probably cost more than Valeriy's first car. The deputy head of her department. Valeriy noticed how often Oleg hovered near Svetlana, how they laughed just a little too easily, and when the dancing started, she vanished into Oleg's orbit like a moon caught in gravity. "They make quite the pair, don't they?" The voice came from beside him, a woman about 40, short hair, tired eyes, and an expression that knew too much. "I'm Anna," she said. "Anna Olegovna. I'm his wife. You must be Svetlana's husband." Valeriy nodded slowly. "Valeriy. Nah. I've known about the affair for 4 months," she said matter-of-factly. "At first I thought I was imagining it, but then came the signs. Late meetings, new lingerie she never wears at home. You know the drill." Valeriy's throat dried. He had suspected something, sure. The distance, the tension. But hearing it aloud was different. "You have proof?" he asked. She pulled out her phone. Messages, dozens of them. "Miss you already, Oleg. Room 237. Don't be late. He's working late again. I'm free tonight." Each word stabbed him like glass. He wasn't even angry, just hollow. "What are you going to do?" he asked quietly. Filing for divorce tomorrow. I've had enough. And you? Valeriy stared at the dance floor. Svetlana was glowing, laughing, leaning into Oleg like a woman reborn. When was the last time she looked at him like that? I don't know, he admitted. He faked being drunk that night and pretended to sleep. When Svetlana slipped out into the dark for a walk, he followed. Outside cabin 7, he saw them. No shame, no caution, like the world didn't exist. He took a few photos. Not for revenge, just in case. Then he went back, packed a small bag, left a note on the nightstand. Thanks for everything. Don't look for me. Valeriy. And he walked into the forest toward the distant glow of a train station, leaving behind a life that no longer had room for him. The station was deserted. Valeriy sat alone on a bench under a flickering street lamp, the scent of pine still clinging to his clothes. The night train to Podolsk was due in 40 minutes. His mind raced, not with anger, not even with grief, just stillness. The kind that comes after a storm has taken everything. A woman approached. She looked about 35, with a worn-out travel bag and eyes that had cried recently. Excuse me, are you heading to Berezovka? She asked hesitantly. No, Podolsk, Valeriy replied. Why? I missed the last bus, she sighed. I need to get back. I'm the director of the kindergarten there. Berezovka. That's the village where the heating system failed a few winters ago, right? She blinked. You know about that? Yeah, I used to work in industrial heating systems. Saw it in the papers. Kids had to stay home for a month, didn't they? Her eyes widened. Exactly, that's my nightmare. We've been trying to get funding to fix the boiler for 2 years. I was in the city all day, begging for support again. Another rejection. Mind if I ask what the system looks like? Valeriy said, his interest sparked. The woman, Elena, explained in detail. Broken valves, ancient pipes, manual ignition, safety risks. As she spoke, Valeriy's mind started working. He asked more questions. Pressure readings, insulation, bypass valves. She was surprised at his knowledge, but grateful. Listen, he said as the train's headlights cut through the trees. If I come take a look, maybe I can help. Pro bono. Let's just see what's possible. Elena looked stunned. I can't pay much. Let's not talk money yet. Let's talk about warm classrooms for kids. They rode together. She told him about Berezovka, its tight-knit community, the young families, the fear that, without a kindergarten, more people would leave. When they arrived, she paused at the station. There's a spare room at my place, she said. The village rents are cheap, but if you want to stay with me until we sort out the boiler. I live alone. You're not afraid of inviting a strange man into your home? She smiled softly. A little, but something tells me I can trust you. Berezovka greeted Valeriy with sunrise and silence. Small wooden houses lined the dirt roads, gardens bursting with flowers. Elena's home sat on the edge of the village, a sturdy house with a wide porch and an orchard that smelled like August. No husband? Oh, Mom, Valeriy asked as they unpacked. He died in a car accident 3 years ago, Elena said quietly. We had no kids, just me in this place now. The kindergarten was worse than he expected. The boiler was Soviet era, half the system patched together with rusted pipes. The control panel was so outdated it belonged in a museum. This is a death trap, Valeriy muttered, but it's fixable. He made a list. A new boiler, modern pipes, insulation, automation. It'll take around 300,000 rubles, he said. We don't have that, Elena whispered. We've tried fundraising, grants, everything. We'll figure something out. He meant it. That night they sat on her porch, sipping weak tea and watching the stars. She asked why he was helping. Because I have nothing to lose, he said, and maybe this is the first thing that's felt. Right in years. The next morning he met Mikhail Petrovich, the head of the local farming cooperative. A former military man, firm handshake, no-nonsense type. I hear you're the guy who's going to fix our kindergarten, he said. We could use someone like you full-time. Our dryer's broken. Our machine shop needs upgrades. Interested? Valeriy nodded. Let's talk. Within a week, he was working part-time. Within a month, full-time. The pay was modest but steady. The respect was real. The problems were solvable. And that, after years of being dismissed, felt like gold. Elena became a friend, then more than a friend. No fireworks, no drama, just kindness, late-night talks, and the feeling that neither needed to pretend. Meanwhile, Svetlana returned home from the retreat to an empty apartment and divorce papers on the table. No fight, no accusations. Just the clean end of a life she didn't value until it was gone. Oleg tried to convince her they could finally be together. But the office gossip spread quickly. His wife took half his assets and left him. His position became unstable. By winter, Oleg had transferred to a new region. Out of sight, out of her life. Svetlana tried dating, but nothing stuck. No one had Valerie's quiet strength. No one forgave like he did. And no one loved her through the worst of her pride. Valeriy, meanwhile, thrived. He repaired the school's heating, helped the village lay new gas lines. Mikhail promoted him to chief engineer. The co-op grew. People respected his word. Kids waved at him in the street. Masha visited with her baby, Valerie's first grandchild. She hugged him tightly. "You seem alive again, Dad," she whispered. "I think Mom regrets it all." Maybe, but some things you can't undo. A year later, Elena was pregnant. They married in a small ceremony. No suits, no guests from the past. Just local friends, the priest, and a lot of laughter. That spring, they planted apple trees in the yard. That summer, Valeriy built a new greenhouse for Elena. That fall, their daughter was born, Katya. And every night, he sat on the porch, holding his baby girl, Elena's head on his shoulder, and thought, if I hadn't lost everything, I would have never found all this. Sometimes second chances don't come wrapped in miracles. They come in the form of a missed bus, a broken boiler, a tired woman with kind eyes, and the courage to say yes one more time. Thanks for watching. That's how this story ended, with freedom, clarity, and no regrets. Have you ever had a moment when you finally stood up for yourself? Drop your story in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear it. And if this hit you deep, like and subscribe. More real stories, bold, raw, and unapologetically honest, are coming soon.